Excellent.
Killer, hey, how you all going? It's John, that Aussie metal guy here with Crank and with That Metal Station. And today I'm getting to have a chat with Sam Bean, vocalist and bassist for Werewolves, death metal band that I've been cranking both their albums. And I've got to have a chat with Dave Haley last year about this project. So it's cool to get a chat with you, Sam. Cheers, mate.
G'day, dude. How's it going?
Yeah, good, man. Good, dude. How you been?
Yeah, fucking busy.
Yeah, busy.
Yeah, this last month has been... Yeah, like it's so unexpected. Yeah, I can remember the old Berzerker days, like when we released To Simulate, and the media then was like kind of intense and busy, but this has been next level. Like literally any spare moment over the last month has been spent like talking about this album or practicing for the next couple of albums that I've got to record next month.
Oh wow, yeah. So you're flat out because you brought the Dead of Screaming, which I grabbed that album as soon as that dropped last year.
Yeah,
that got a really good response as well, eh?
Yeah, like for something which we just squeezed out over a weekend or whatnot, like yeah, it blew us away, man. We've got all these other musical projects that we like pour our heart and soul into and spend like months or years like doing. But it's this thing that we just kind of like, went out and did for a laugh, like over a weekend, which now seems to be getting all the attention. So I don't know how the world works.
Yeah, well, that one in 2020 was a ripping one, but that what a time to be live. That was fucking death metal for me. That was one of the death metal albums so far of this year, man. That one, the first one, The Dead and Screaming, and then this one, dude. I just fucking amazing death metal albums, dude. You're saying you're just kind of jumping in there and busting them out without too much hassle, eh?
Yeah, so it's funny actually. I was listening to The Dead of Screaming, like the first release, just over the last week. I hadn't listened to that for I don't think this year, and I was listening to it. I was going, I was thinking to myself, I was going to sound like shit compared to What a Time to Be Alive, like our second release. But I was listening to it, going, this sounds like fun. This sounds like we're having fun. But What a Time to Be Alive just sounds like it's come into focus. The BPM's gone up, and the sort of like the kind of smile that we were playing with on the first album is just like dropped away and like got a bit more serious and like aggressive. It's definitely more aggressive. So yeah, now I've got to try and work out our approaches for albums 3 and 4.
Yep.
That's a problem for next month.
Yeah, that's it. So what was recording and production like for this one? When did you start doing that? And what was that whole process like with everything that was going
on? I've got to be honest, like I think before the first album was out, Matt had already written the second one.
Yeah.
He was like, I think the other guy said, for a joke, let's see if we can actually write and record our second album before the first one's out. And we did. So that was, I think they'd done like the drums and guitar like around December, January 2019.
Yep.
And I came over to Melbourne, visited Matt at his place to do the bass. He sends me videos for like the guitar lines, and I kind of work out the bass around that. But when I sit down, like, and record, he's hearing it for the first time. Matt's sort of like, he's kind of the mastermind, I reckon, of this band. He's got a very firm views on what it should sound like and should come across like. So I'll do the bass lines. I'll nail like 95% of it. And then there's just that vital last few bits. He's like, no, that's too intelligent. Can you dumb that down a little bit? And I'm like, yeah, gladly, sir. So that's sort of how that happens. So I've got a studio that I use here in Adelaide, Ghost Note Studios. Jack. So Jack's the man, and I've worked with him now on a few albums, and I do the vocals there, and he's pretty good at just making suggestions, picking up on things. So that was all done, like I think by the end of January, or maybe even the start of Feb last year. And of course, that means that there's been plenty of time now for like Matt and Dave to kick ahead, and they've already recorded albums 3 and 4. I'm just trying to catch up.
Yeah, I knew they would, because when I chatted to Dave, he said he pretty well hinted around that this album was done before it. And so I knew that this was going to come out, and when it did drop, I was bit fucking excited, man. I tell you what, I'm a bit of a fan. I like the way he's gone, oh, we dumb it down because it's a no-nonsense death metal album and it has really resonated with the death metal fans worldwide. I know I've got a show that's based out of US and I've been cranking it to the US fans over there and they're loving it, man. I'm like, who the hell's that? Fucking, you know, I got one of the other DJs that like Werewolves, man. Now he's a mad keen fan as well.
Fantastic. You know, the songs like as well, it's so funny because we record them so fast, like I forget what we've done. And so I'll come back to the recordings after a month or two, like, and it sounds to me like some other band I've never heard before. So I get to kind of like listen to it with a bit of a clean slate. And to me, it sounds like the thing that's going to be in any death metal playlist because it's just fun. Like it's just, it delivers. There's no kind of like, well, if you like, you know, your Dissonant Ulcerate thing, then you might enjoy it. Or if you like your black gaze kind of stuff, you might enjoy that. No, this is just kind of like, you know, death metal 101. If you enjoy your blast beats, your screaming, your screeching, your aggression, your trem riffs, dropping down to half time, like with double kicks, just absolutely blazing over a fast guitar line. This is the kind of thing, you know, you can put it on and know that there's going to be something that you're going to get off on.
Yeah, your head's going to be banging, that's for sure.
Yeah, so it's guaranteed brutality.
Yeah, I did want to mention too, before we go too far ahead, Jack Hartley, Ghost Note Studios. He was nominated last year, I think, at the SA Music Awards. I'm not sure, did he get it or not?
Oh shit, I don't know.
I don't even know. Yeah, I know he was nominated. I know he was nominated because I was there that night. And yeah, when you mentioned Jack, I'm like, yeah, for sure. He's done some great albums out of Adelaide as well, and some cool metal, and a whole lot of music coming out of there. Right? It's unreal, the Adelaide metal scene.
Yeah, so it's funny with Jack. I think the last time I was in the studio with him, like he was like, "Oh, thank God it's you, dude. I've been doing this hip hop album for the last week," and like the guy sort of like records it line by line, and I'm like, "Don't you worry about a thing. I'll be out of here in like 5 hours." You know, we're getting from A to B, son. Let's do this. So yeah, no, but if he's picked up some, there
we go. Yep, we're back.
There we go. I think we just had a drop out there.
Yeah, you were saying if he's picked up.
So yeah, he deserves it. Like he's good.
Yeah, it's good. And who does the lyrics? I got to ask, who writes lyrics for this, man? Some cool lyrics.
Well, it depends. If you think they're great, then it's me. But if you heard something that rubs you up the wrong way, then it's Matt and Dave. Like, no, it's me. It's very funny. It's like not me trying to emote or like write anything serious or express myself. It's just like writing stuff to crack up Matt and Dave. Like, as I say, we've got our bands where we make art and we like, you know, be musicians, and bards and shit like that. And then we've got this where we're just like trying to crack each other up with how savage we can make stuff, lyrics included. And so quite often I'm just writing that just, you know, to make them piss themselves laughing. And it seems to have that effect with everyone now. I'm quite surprised actually no one's picked me up on some of the content.
Yeah, like my piss is radioactive there and shit like that.
Well, that's
probably is these days. Most of us probably would have radioactive piss these days.
I wrote that because I'd had a Berzerker and I was out of lyrics. Like Sublime Wartime Voyeurism was the last song I wrote wrote lyrics for on that album. My lyric sheet was done by then, so I was like, fuck, what do? I go to the toilet and I have a think about my lyrics. That's what I do. And just like, oh, I've had a Berzerker today. It's glowing. Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. That's it.
Human liquid Geiger counter. Let's do this. So, that's how that came about. But there's a lot of stuff on there where I think this is probably about as like laugh a minute as we're going to get. The next album, like it will still be the same kind of vein, but I think it might be a little bit more, less smiles, more snarls.
Well, you can kind of see it's starting to lead in towards that with the plague on all your houses. They'll pay with their own blood. They're heavy. The death metal is great, man. It must be fun too for you guys, as you're saying, all having your projects where you're doing your serious bits like Berzerker, Psycroptic, Abramelin, Dave's just in about 100 million bands. I'll probably be here all day naming them. But it must be good for you guys when you do get together to kind of just unleash a little bit of energy and have some fun with this project too.
Yeah, like I think that's the main thing about it as well. It's fun, and we're kind of stunned by how easy it is to do as well. Like, you know, a lot of our other bands, it takes effort and time, and there's a certain degree of like compromise and patience that you have like when working with other people. With this, it's like it goes like a fucking greased pig. Like, it's just everyone is. It's almost kind of like we're having a competition with ourselves to see how quickly and effortlessly we can like get stuff done. And as a result, like, for most bands, we put this album out end of January. What a time to be alive!
Yeah.
For most bands, that'd be it for them for the next 3 or 4 years. We got shit planned for this year. Like, this year is kind of chockers already, with other surprises and things that we're doing. So yeah, it is good fun. But the thing is, like, we don't get together all that often and like share energy or write stuff or anything like that. They're in Melbourne, I'm in Adelaide. We get together about once a year. We're already like sort of saying, because I got to go over mid-March and do the bass for albums 3 and 4. And we're kind of like, well, let's catch up on the Sunday and have our annual like coffee, sort of get the annual band meeting and get that done like until 2022. So that's how we operate.
But it's got to be good. I've spoken to a few artists that do this. They have a couple of bands. They've got their main band, and they've got a couple of other side projects. Does it reinvigorate you for your main band when doing a project like Werewolves? Do you sit there going, oh, well, do you get a little more enthused for coming back to Berzerker, or,
It doesn't really so much work like that. It's good in a way because you know what each band is for. It's really easy to write stuff for one band which isn't suitable for it. And you kind of like go, oh, but I want it to be in something. I want it to appear in something. It sort of like dilutes the flavor like of what you're doing. So if like, for example, if like Matt and I wrote something kind of proggy, like it's sort of like, well, that's not where it's going in. Antichrist Imperium. If I write something utterly mutant and noisy, it's like, hey, Luke, here's a Berzerker riff. If I write something that's sort of like happy, then it goes into the Senseless, which is one of my other bands. So it's really good. Like, it makes you sort of focus on what each band is about. And I think a lot of bands kind of, they do their music and they're just like, oh, if I say to them the all important band question, which is in one sentence, why is your band different from everyone else? Most guys would just be like, I don't know. But when you have multiple bands, like, it forces you to know exactly which band is for what. And as a result, you're very focused when you do it. Werewolves, super brutal, more metal than they are like death metal. Berzerker, industrial, like noisy, fucked up grind. Antichrist, Satan worshipping, tits worshipping, progressive like death metal. Senseless, happy, extreme metal. So it really like helps you focus. So it's good like that, but it doesn't sort of reinvigorate, I must admit, in a different way. Like, it's fucking exhausting.
Wow. I noticed what with Dave's drumming too. Like, he can play flat out, but then he'll play the drumming that is needed, like for the Werewolves. Like, he can go just super flat out with like your Psycroptic with his tech, and then he can play what is needed for Werewolves, and then jump over to King and do what is needed with King, and then with Ruins. He doesn't have to do that same extreme drumming on each project. He does what is needed for that project, which is
he doesn't parachute in and just machine gun like the drums play. So I kind of like that. He's good at picking his styles. One of the things that actually I found really interesting, like with the Wells material, is like between Matt and Dave and myself as well, but especially those two, I know we're capable of like well over 300 BPM. The solid XXL sort of speeds. And I was kind of half expecting him to go, all right, let's just write something at 350 that's like pure filth. But it was quite interesting. Dave and Matt, as I say, knock their heads together quite a bit over like what they want out of this band. And there's a fair bit of Marduk Panzer Division, Marduk sort of like worship going on in there. And Dave actually had like a BPM range, and he's kind of like, this is the pocket for this kind of material. This is the pocket that we want it to be in. And I found it like, rather modest. There's not much which goes, say, above 270 or 280. But the interesting thing is because for us, it's kind of like almost slowing down to be playing at something like 260. It's pretty tight when we play at that, and because of that, it comes across like far more like it's got a lot more velocity, a lot more heft to it. So yeah, it's really strange. Like those lower BPMs make everything even more frantic and more savage. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Oh, 1 second, mate. I think that's my wife. I better let her in. Oh, okay. There we go. Cool. Album art. I love the album art on these albums, Sam.
Yes. So the person to blame for that one is Mitchell Nolte. He's down in Tassie. He's like an artist there. Dave knows him. There's some sort of like Tasmanian nepotism happening there. Like when we did the first album, like as I say, it happened so quickly. The recording, everything was recorded within 2 or 3 weeks, mixed and then mastered. And we were like, well, fuck it. We don't have an album deal, but let's just get some artwork as well. Let's go all the way. And yeah, we contacted Mitchell, and within a couple of days he had like 6 different sort of designs that he hit us with. And we were kind of like, that's the people that we like to work with, people who like work fast, work hard, no bullshit, know what they're doing, and bang. Like so we're kind of like, yeah, all right, just the fact that you work so fast, we're down with that. So
yep,
that's where we chose the Massive Erect Wolf God. But it was a little bit different with What a Time to Be Alive. We give him the lyrics and like just a general vibe we're going for. I think Matt said harrowing violence for this one, and then we left him to it, and he got it on the first try. Like he sent back like a rough of that picture, and we were just like, whew. It's pretty intense, and I like that it's intense without it being sort of like one of these gratuitous sort of like gore grind or porno grind sort of covers. Yeah, it's like it's plenty intense, but it's not infantile, which I like about it. So yeah, and it's doing us a lot of favors as well. So many people have said to me, oh man, we saw the cover to the album, we just had to listen to a song. And like we're very fortunate, because if they stick that CD in the player or like play it on Bandcamp, the first song is I Don't Like You, which kicks things straight off. Like so it sounds like it looks, and it just matches perfectly.
Yeah, I like to hear that people are still doing that, jumping in and grabbing albums for the cover, because that was something I used to do once upon a time when they had CD stores. I'd go in and pick out something just because of the fucking cover, right?
Yeah, it worked for Pungent Stench with Being Caught Buttering. I'm sure that photo, like, sold them an extra. Yeah, I'm sure that photo got them like another 20, 30,000 sales, like alone.
I actually played a track from that on my show the other day. Hey, funny you mentioned that.
Which one?
4F Club. I think it was like Valentine's Day. I'm like, I've got to put some Valentine's tracks in there. But I think I even managed to slip in a Werewolves one there. I'm not sure which one. I think it was Unfathomable.
Dog Knotted?
Yeah, Dog Knotted. That was it. It was Dog Knotted, dude.
Man, that's the most unromantic song I think ever.
I know, dude. I managed to sneak in some really unromantic talent. Yep, that's going in there. Yeah, it was a fun show, I tell you what.
Oh, geez, Pungent Stench. I just like that they've got a band member with an even less metal name than I do, like Alex Wank, is it?
It's a pretty unmetal name, man. So, when can we roughly expect the next Werewolves album, dude?
Look, if we had our way to be out, if we had our way to be out in June, but we're out through Prosthetic Records, and
that's good. Cool.
Yeah, they're pretty generous with their release cycles. Like we'll be probably coming out January, I imagine, next year with this next one. But if they kept putting albums out as soon as they were written by us, they'd be putting them out every 6 months, like, and they wouldn't have time to work on all their other like excellent bands. So, just we're cool with that. Like, and that gives us time to, get our other bands done as well.
Yeah, well, it gets one each year too. Kind of keep it going, and kind of plan this out and kind of look for the future.
it's funny, like Matt was kind of on a mission to, I forget if it was 100 songs or 100 albums, like he wanted to see if he could like make before he dies. And I think Werewolves is a large part of that master plan. So,
that's good.
So
to hear.
like the guys aren't slowing down. There's no thoughts about like, oh, do we, take some time off and like, reinvigorate ourselves artistically? Fuck no. It's like, how soon can we get back in the studio and just like, go and squeeze out another load of this shit?
Well, I'm noticing that too with a lot of people as you kind of get a bit older. And with myself, I'm in my 40s now. I kind of get more motivated now as I'm getting older to kind of work more and do a little more than when I was younger. And I've spoken to a lot of musicians like yourself that are kind of feeling that way as well.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think when you're in your 20s, you have these visions of like, being with music, you have these visions of being a tortured artist and sort of like, you got to suffer and bleed for your art and, that sort of thing. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
And you end up like trying to deal with your problems more than you spend like in the studio or practicing or like rehearsing. So once you do get a lot of your own kinks sorted out, then it gets out of the way of getting stuff done and making music flow. And it helps as well that we've all got, I think it's important as well, especially when you're making death metal, to have your finances sorted.
Yeah.
Big time, because like, grind doesn't pay the bills. Once you've sort of got that and your work-life balance sorted, then it just becomes really easy to get it done. It's something Derek Roddy was saying like about 10 years ago. I think he was doing a Answer Me Anything on Reddit or something, some interview, and they said, what's the most important advice you can give to a musician? And he goes, don't rely on music for your income. Find a way to make your money that leaves you with plenty of spare time. And that way you'll enjoy doing music and you'll be able to make exactly what you want, and you'll make better music for it. So that's what works for us. We've all got like, our house things sorted, our money things sorted, our spare time and holidays, all that shit sorted. So we're all good. Like, and that just frees you up to do a lot more. You probably know the same thing as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And trying to get people to fucking support bands. There's so many great bands out there, and people get stuck in this digital streaming cycle where they think, oh, I'm just listening to a band on Spotify and that's supporting him. And as you're saying, artists aren't making money, but to at least make some beer money and maybe some petrol money, or at least pay for a new guitar and studio time would be great.
Yeah. As I say, like I've had a lot of success with bands. Which is just, I almost feel like on the one hand, it's a lottery ticket, but on the other hand, there's some principles behind it. Hard work's obviously one of it. Yeah. But I don't think you ever do your stuff when you're doing something this extreme. I think you give up any idea of people supporting you, of like, because if you're doing this thing properly, you're doing it you against the world.
Yeah.
And that's the attitude you're going at it with, and the world will oblige by making it as bullshit hard for you as possible. Things are probably easy with Werewolves because we move so quick. The world's trying to like, throw roadblocks in front of us, but we're already at 200 meters down the road.
Yeah.
But whenever I hear people sort of like going support the bands or whatever, I'm kind of like, if you're doing something that's thunderously worthwhile, you'll be supported. There will be a part of the planet that will step up and do it for you. But if you're like the world's 10 millionth Slayer cover band, well, I guarantee you the world doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, like I was going to say, there's no place in the world for another like 10 million Slayer cover bands. Which, and if you do that sort of thing expecting to make money, like, shit, you're in the wrong thing.
Yeah, and metal in general too. Metal in general, people coming into heavy metal and going, man, I'm going to be the next big fucking Slipknot or whatever. And you kind of got to get into it. To I want to play music, and then I just enjoy laying down some music, and then whatever happens from there happens.
Yeah, I think you almost got to like just really sort of stretch out the brain and just be like, what's the next thing? Yep. Like, it's funny actually. I had this dream, like I can still remember so clearly, about like 20 years ago, where in the dream I had like came out 100 years in the future. And I remember going to a music store. I don't know what a music store is doing, still existing 100 years in the future or whatever, but like I came out and I was like, what's the big metal bands like 100 years? Like, and they were like, I wrote the name down, but it was a Russian band. Venus Sketskis or something like that. I don't know. But I heard the music. Like the guy's like, you haven't heard them? And I was like, no, never. It was kind of like Metallica times 10. So I was like, play some for me. And I think you almost got to sometimes just sit down and like have that sort of like far vision, which is why it fucking mystifies the shit out of me why Werewolves is going so well, because it's so regressive. We're not doing anything new or anything like that. It's just dumb shit. People like it. It flummoxes me.
Yeah, but it's as I said before, it's just one of those death metal albums that kind of fucking hit. And it was good when the Dead and Screaming dropped, because I did see that you did get that response. But this one has just fucking torn it out of the ballpark. Even just on the Bandcamp, I'm looking down, you just see people buying it. It's like cool.
Yeah, it's oh dude, I can't get over it. I'm like, well, this is where obviously we've been fucking up for the last 15 years trying to make new stuff and cutting edge shit. We should have just really like gone back and like, been one of these bands that we're talking shit about, like where we don't try and do anything new. So I don't know.
So
I'm an old man. I don't understand the world.
Yeah. What's the chances of Werewolves playing live? Are you looking at getting on stage sometime when everything is okay to get back on stage, or?
Look, I'd say it's fairly high. Matt and Dave will play a gig anywhere, anytime, for any reason. Like, I'm probably the one that needs to get in the most shape, like to be able to do Werewolves. Like, I'm not only trying to keep up with them on the bass, but like those vocal lines weren't written like with live performances in mind at all. I was just like, just going in there and throwing it down, trying to do that while playing bass is going to be, oh God, no, I'm going to have to go an extra lung. But I think you'll see it happen. Like, I know there's some gig bookings beginning, like with some of our other bands or projects this year. And I still think it's a little bit early. Like, the vaccinations have to, hit the country. We have to see that it handles like some of the different plague strains that are out there.
And the numbers are going to be steady too. You can't be like Jace, poor Jace, man. He set up Heavy SA, put it back again a year, and then the numbers just weren't there, and then he had to cancel it because it was the only kind of viable option. Because as you said, you've got everyone bands and then friends, and then by the time you actually get punters in the door, you get 10 of them in, then the rest of you's going to have to go home.
I know, and it's not just about like getting even like the plague numbers down. It's about also getting some of the restrictions like eased. So as you say, shows are viable. Like I feel bad for Jason just having to reschedule like that festival over and over again. But like 21 right now who is booking a show or planning a show or a gig, I'm like, guys, it's too early. Like there's every chance that 2 days out from it, like the border will get shut, or the order will come in to close all venues. If you're all living in the same city and the gig's in that city and you're just doing a nice little gig in your nice little city and all of you live there, then it's all good. But we all like live interstate or whatever, and although we'll do probably like one or two like little shows at Bendigo Hotel or something like that, our eyes are on like doing cutting the shit and getting to some bigger stuff as quick as possible. We'd like to play festivals. I'd like to play, some big supports, that sort of thing. We're all in our 40s. We've done a million shows between us all. I'm in no real hunger to go and play every RSL like around the country to 20 sort of semi-interested denim wearers, like
wearing their arms crossed in the back of.
Just take my bass off and hurl it around, fucking hurl it out of like, I've got no interest in that. I've played a million rooms around the planet to a million people all standing there, kind of like, just watching it. Whatever, it is what it is. But it's been done, and so I'm not gonna sort of like risk sort of getting on the wrong side of a border lockdown just to like entertain, 15, 20 semi-interested sort of like battle jacket wearing fucking knuckle draggers. So,
knuckle draggers. That's it.
Yeah,
With Metallica patches.
Yeah, bless them. And hopefully a great big werewolves patch like sewn into their forehead as well. But it's too early. Like that's the long and the short of it.
And that's what I also think too with these internationals. I've seen some internationals try and book this year, and I'm thinking even they're optimistic. I'm thinking no internationals at all, and I'm kind of going, yeah, that sucks, but it's also a good thing for bands in Australia that want to play a gig, and in South Australia at Adelaide and put on a show, and then have people come and see them because there's no fucking internationals. It'd be good to actually see some numbers kind of support, getting in and supporting the live industry we have here in Australia instead of just having those 20 knuckle draggers in the back with their battle vests crossed arms, so people actually really keen to see some shows, and not only that, buying merch off the bands afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, look, I know there's a hunger right now to like see live shows, and there's been some bands I know. Like I got a mate plays in Nemesium, and they managed to squeeze out a show like
out as well.
Oh, savage, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a great album.
And they managed to like squeeze out a quick show like in between like lockdowns, and I know people love it when that happens. But I will say something like it's working out really well for us at the moment. The lockdown, it sucks that there's no live gigs, but on the other hand, people right now are hungry like for content, and if you can throw music at them, and if you can throw like film clips at them, and you're not just like throwing posts at them where you're hashtagging someone hashtagging you kind of thing, if you're giving them something to read and some entertainment right now, that's gold. Like people want that. And particularly like Dave runs direct merch. He did that very swift pivot in the first week of like the plague from direct bookings to direct merch. It's quickest rebranding he ever saw in corporate Australia ever. But like he's just found that everyone's stuck at home, they can't spend on shows, but they love merch. And if you can sort people out for that right now, they're interested and they're buying. So
I went with my stimulus payment and the government give at the start of that. I spent it all on merch. I'm like, fuck, government's not doing nothing. Let's do some trickle down economics. And I brought like tons of shirts, got a heap of records. I'm like, went crazy,
Oh yeah, and that $20 that goes to a band right now, it's like, because I think we were fast out the gates, like making a lot of music, but now everyone is kind of like going, well, shit, we're not touring, we're not going across the world trying to get in the studio and make something. So that $20 is finding its way straight into a pocket, then straight out down to the studio, like straight into the mixer's pocket, who's like, mixers being mixers, they're probably buying a whole bunch of like new equipment. And supporting what's left of like retail Australia, and like everything's taking a million years to come in from overseas right now, so like people are tending to buy local a bit more. So it's a well spent $20 like that goes to a band.
Yeah, definitely. So Sam, absolute pleasure, man. Did you want to say anything about your other projects? You got anything going with them, or
Berzerker, everyone's wondering what's happening with Berzerker. The answer for that is don't know. Like Luke's had all the material since last year, and there's enough there, I reckon, for about 2 albums. But like he's while I've breezed through, me and Matt and Dave have breezed through sort of like coronavirus relative to a lot of people, it's really affected his work. So he's been sort of like just, rolling with the punches all last year. Hopefully things settle down for him enough this year so that we see the new Berzerker in 2021. Antichrist Imperium, which I do with Matt. We should have album 3 out on Apocalyptic Witchcraft Records this year. Again, everything's been recorded, but we're just waiting on files to come in from England so we can like get going with the mixing. Oh God, there's a lot of other shit happening, but unfortunately that's also like
that's all good. We'll catch up at a later date, Sam, and have another chat, man. This has been absolute pleasure, dude.
I guarantee by the end of this year, you're going to be sick of my face.
Nah, that's good. That's good. I love talking music, man. Sam, we'll let you get about the rest of your day, go for a surf or whatever else you got on. Any last words, shout outs or thank yous you'd like to add in there before we sign out?
Nah, fuck everyone. Stay brutal. Bye.
That's
Shit.
it. Stay brutal. Cheers, Sam.